Honorable Minister in the office of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Member, Mr. Kwame Mc Coy. You may proceed with your contribution, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wished that the AFC had done a feasibility study on the stage they mounted at Parade Ground that collapsed. I wish they had done a feasibility study on the art of governance. Mr. Speaker, I wish they had done a feasibility study on Durban Park even. It is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that what we continue to hear in this house, and by the way, I walked with this compilation of major sins of APNU AFC in highlights of incompetence and neglect of people. And this is just part of it. We are not afraid of people. In the worst of times, we are with people. In the good times, we're still with them. So we don't have to be afraid to go to Region 1, 9, 7, 8, 10, wherever exist situations where our people need us. And we have an impressive record of engagement with people, outreaches with people across this country, day in, day out. No part in the history of this country we've had that before. We don't have cardboard images for people to interface and interact with. We have real ministers, a real president, a real prime minister on the ground meeting people every single day. Mr. Speaker, not so long ago in 2020, to be precise, the Guyanese citizens parted ways with APNU AFC, goodbye Tata, whose globally unmatched incompetence left Guyana teetering on the precipice of economic collapse. Their lackluster governance manifested in catastrophic job losses across every sector of our country, affecting the livelihood of over 30,000 Guyanese workers, and additionally, with a tragic impact on 70,000 family members. Somewhere in this house, somewhere in here, oh yes, Mr. Speaker, the shaggies on the other side of this house will barefacedly deny it wasn't me. Hey, it wasn't me.
Oh yes.
The APNU AFC coalition government's reckless policies shattered the hope, aspirations, and dreams of Guyanese, and by extension, in communities across our country. The calamitous display of con artistry, profound misunderstanding of rudimentary economics,
You're being charitable today.
calculated misrepresentation of factual and realistic occurrences, and clumsy denials of their involvement in electoral criminality will all manifest, in fact, have already manifested themselves here today in this house. Mr. Speaker, a reckless imposition of over 300 new taxes and fees as an albatross around the necks of the working class, it wasn't me. Presided over the worst unaccountability and mismanagement in our nation's history, it wasn't me. Gold bangles decorated on the hand of a former minister, purchased with misappropriated funds, it wasn't me. The larceny of the country's first oil and gas signing bonus of $18 million.
Beep. Check the word. You check back.
Mr. Speaker, the history of this country has already, the records will show that a former minister denied the existence and the collection of a signing bonus of 18 million US dollars. And then, when they were exposed, he said he thought it was a gift. A gift to whom? A gift. So it is very clear, and that was in Parliament. But Mr. Speaker, in the face of this ruinous legacy, we, the People's Progressive Party Civic, have remained steadfast as true stewards of the economy, as true defenders and protectors of our sacred democracy, ensuring that never again will the APNU AFC interlopers be able to attempt the heist of our entire election in broad daylight. Mr. Speaker, consistent adherence to and the preservation of the rule of law and an abiding commitment to the empowerment of Guyanese people and the betterment of their lives remain at the heart of our policies and programs of the People's Progressive Party Civic government. Over just 4 short years, considering 2 years of COVID-19 setbacks, we honored the people's mandate through results-oriented delivery of goods and services. And today, the social contract entered into with our citizens through our resounding and definitive 2020 mandate, Guyana's most ambitious and transformative agenda ever undertaken in the history of our nation, prioritizes the well-being of Guyanese above everything else, while those with unpatriotic and narrow, self-serving partisan agendas who always just seek to disrupt, divide, badmouth, and trample upon our achievements will never be allowed to succeed.
Never.
Budget 2025 adds to our transformative vision grounded in sustainable development, which advances education, diversifying the economy, and modernizing our infrastructure. We are improving the quality of life of Guyanese, where every citizen has the opportunity to thrive, to partake in the bounty of the prospering economy, and to contribute to a democratic society that embodies the will of the people. I therefore commend my colleague, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Singh and his staff at the Ministry of Finance, and indeed all other public servants, for presenting another transformative plan for the advancement of our great nation, Budget 2025. A bold affirmation of the government's unwavering commitment to a people-centered development agenda that is rooted in the principles of equity, inclusivity, and sustainable progress. Through Budget 2025, the PPPC government is continuing to charter a course towards an integrated, diversified, and robust economy, ensuring that every citizen, irrespective of where they live, can benefit from the abundant opportunities created by the growth of both the oil and non-oil sectors. This budget places a particular emphasis on enhancing Guyana's infrastructural capacity, with monumental investments in energy, transportation, and water sector. The construction of new roads, bridges, drainage systems, alongside a focus on renewable energy, reflects the government's recognition that modern infrastructure is integral to the improvement of living standards across our country. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 is another example of people's empowerment. It does make a huge difference when an ordinary hinterland resident, man and woman and child, now has equitable access to quality health care, solid secondary education, portable water, and unfettered access to our menu of social welfare programs altogether. Guyanese globally celebrated LCDS transfers direct financial benefits to 253 hinterland and Amerindian communities, where as part of their self-governance feature, the monies are used to administer their community affairs. The former regime's broken record has been sung for the past 4 years, that we had no access to oil money. It's a sorry excuse to mask the poor performance of the failed APNU AFC regime. By constantly singing that song, they hoped that the people would forget that they were raking in hundreds of billions of new money from the more than 300 new taxes and fees they imposed on us. Permit me to dismantle one of the most disingenuous arguments advanced by our colleagues on the opposite side during this debate. If money were truly the issue, their actions would have been guided by service to the public rather than self-enrichment. And therein lies the profound contradiction. While they claimed financial constraints, their immediate actions, once they assumed office in 2015, belied their rhetoric. Their ink had not dried on the instruments of appointment when they gave themselves a 50% salary increase under the guise of increased workload. Laughable indeed. They had increased workload.
No,
The least,
no, they said they had to be paid not to be corrupt.
that too. But it ended up being the opposite anyway.
Clearly they knew themselves.
The cry of no oil money for the people never once stopped the APNU
Clearly
AFC
you knew yourself.
from embarking on frivolous, extravagant ventures that drained resources such as the colossal waste of over $1 billion on Durban Park. What a monument. Ramjitan, aren't you proud of Durban Park? I'm sure you are.
Correct.
What a monument. Money that evaporated. Up to now, they can't give account for over $600 million of that $1 billion. They're looking for projects done by the People's Progressive Party Civic government, Mr. Speaker. Tracker from the US television series is still looking for the missing monies from the Durban Park project. Their priorities were more about beds, bangles, bracelets, bed sheets. than about fulfilling the most basic needs of people who had placed their trust in them. The people were not fooled, Mr. Speaker. They saw the disparity between the promises made and the reality that unfolded. And they understood that the APNU AFC were more interested in securing their own future than the future of Guyanese people. But let us be absolutely clear. This was never a matter of limited resources. It was a matter of intent. And the intent was to enrich themselves, to divert resources away from the masses and funnel them into their own pockets, knowing that their promises were empty, and going green by painting buildings green was mere window dressing.
Tell them, Kwame.
It was about constructing a system that empowered just a few at the expense of the many. And when it came to showing any true concern for people, such as the over 7,000 sugar workers who were unceremoniously sent home without severance or compensation, the APNU AFC turned a blind eye, unwilling to extend the bare minimum of support, leaving these workers without nothing but broken dreams and hearts. Mr. Speaker, when APNU AFC leaders found themselves confronted with the discontent of the Guyanese people, they resorted to an absurd, embarrassing gesture. Rather than engage directly with the people, they put forward a cardboard replica of their former leader, Granger. Contrast this, Mr. Speaker, with the leadership of our president and government, whose visits to the diaspora and engagements with people across this country, both at home and abroad, altogether, are marked by authenticity and deep care, affection, and empathy. Our government embodies the true essence of leadership. Whether it's Brooklyn or Berbice, this People's Progressive Party civic government is engaged, compassionate, and in touch with the needs of the people. Our government listens to the citizens and makes adjustments in its policies and programs where necessary. We listen to the real needs on the ground, and we design measures and initiatives that meet those needs. Our government has championed the needs and the aspirations of the working class. We have remained true to our ideals. We've kept faith with the people. We have remained grounded and accessible to people. And we continue to work day in and night to create betterment for all our citizens. Let us not be deceived by the empty slogan that the extravagant promises or the hollow symbols of the quasi-leadership that we'll continue to hear from the other side. The APNU AFC had the opportunity to serve people, to lead without empathy, and they led without empathy. And they made a mess of the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, friends, families, and favorites. Friends, families, and favorites. I stand today fully aware and indeed deeply appreciative of the role my colleagues on the other side are playing, whether they realize it or not, in helping to amplify the vision of our one Guyana, a vision that in stark contrast to their divisive and exclusionary tactics seeks to unite all Guyanese, irrespective of their political affiliation, region, or socio-economic standing. This is a vision that is actively dismantling the entrenched legacies of neglect that the 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄 cabal perpetuated on the people of this country. The same cabal that deprived the people of our hinterland, stripping over 1,900 CSOs of employment. And yet, Mr. Speaker, they are the same individuals who now stand before us preaching a gospel of exclusion and disillusionment. While we, the government of the people, remain committed to lifting up every last corner and citizen of this great nation. Allow me, and I'm happy, that's why I'm speaking for them. Allow me to thank my colleagues on that side of the House once again, for as we speak today, my Guyanese family in Region 1 is benefiting directly from the immense strides made in improving river transport, from enhanced medical services, improved educational facilities, all because as a truly caring government, we refuse to leave even the most remote communities behind. Communities that were forgotten under your government. Communities that have now found solace and opportunity in the forward march of progress under the People's Progressive Party civic government. My indigenous Guyanese family in Region 9 is experiencing the transformative power of a massive housing program. And as we push forward, Miss Waterfront Walton, take note. We have friends across Linden too. My friends in Linden who have long enjoyed the benefits of electricity subsidies under this PPP civic government are now reaping more rewards of a revitalized bauxite industry, a new lane highway, a new 4-lane highway, that is, connecting them to the broader national landscape, a new toll-free 4-lane Wisma Bridge, a new Letem to Mabura highway, and over 600 new house lots distributed to the people of Region 10. My friends in Linden are secure knowing that this government remains steadfast in its commitment to ensuring that all Guyanese, regardless of their political affiliation or region, have access to the essential services they need to thrive in this modern world. And of course, Mr. Speaker, let us turn our gaze to our favorites, the very individuals who sit across from me today, whose political theatrics are nothing more than an attempt to mislead and deceive the people of this country, who had no hesitation in walking like the comrade, the Honorable Annette Ferguson, no hesitation in walking on the newly paved roads in communities considered PNC strongholds after failing to organize a protest against the road. Those roads constructed by this PPP civic government, roads built for the people, roads that have transformed lives and communities, and yet these, our favorites, despite walking on those roads, had no qualms in proclaiming to the citizens that this government has done nothing for them. While they The very same favorites grinned for the cameras when the enumerators registered them for the 100,000 cash grant, a grant that will bring tangible benefits to every adult citizen. The very people they now seek to deceive and mislead, telling them this is not for you, as though they have some divine right to withhold progress from the very citizens who have benefited most from the initiatives rolled out by this administration. Mr. Speaker, it is as brazen as it could get. It is as brazen as it is repugnant. A level of duplicity that can only be described as cynical, where those who have benefited most from the programs and policies of this PPPC administration dare to undermine the very government that made their benefits possible. All in the name of political expediency, all for the hollow gain of a few, all while the people of Guyana, the real people, not the privileged elite on that side of the house, see through the charade. Mr. Speaker, this morning's first speaker denigrated, insulted the working people of this country. A total disrespect, Mr. Speaker. When she can speak in such a demeaning way of women, young people, men, ordinary people of this country who on a daily basis get into their workplaces, wherever it is, setting themselves to a task to earn a daily living, to make money to feed their families, to be able to live themselves out of poverty, to take advantage of the opportunity of a job. They were insulted. I, Mr. Speaker, ask that the honorable member retract that comment. Retract it. Workers of all type and skills and talent and experience make up the Guyanese workforce. And they support our economy, the growth and the development of our economy. Workers, whether they work in the hotel industry, in the construction industry, they work even in any industry, in any sector, in any workplace, are people who are deserving of our admiration and commendation for their first understanding of them wanting to work and to work hard and honestly for a living. They should never be embarrassed. They should never be made to feel as if they're lesser than those who are in the field of medicine or law or any profession. They have a right to a job. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, you can recognize, Mr. Speaker, the difference between us and you on that side. Us and you on that side. The people of this country have recognized it, long recognized it, Mr. Ramjatan, that their only resolve will be to keep you right there, to keep the Shaggies right there. It is this government, under the visionary leadership of our president, who has sought to break the shackles of neglect that is so painstakingly constructed under your government, the 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐄𝐓 coalition government. Today, we can see clearly now progress that is not mired in empty rhetoric, but is grounded in real, impactful action and progress that includes every single Guyanese family, friends, and favorites alike. I am pleased that Budget 2025 will advance our government's agenda for fair, equitable access to information and public engagement. In analyzing the landscape of political and media engagement in Guyana, one cannot help but acknowledge the stark contrast between the 𝐁𝐿 that came before the People's Progressive Party Civic as our commitment to transparent public discourse and media relations stands as a monumental shift in the political ethos, a clear departure from the darkness of opacity that once defined the political climate under the previous regime, where engagement with the public, engagement with the media.
Honorable Minister, your engagement here needs 5 minutes extension.
I'd like to ask for additional 5 minutes for my honorable member to conclude his statement.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Honorable Member, Mr. Kwame Mc Coy, you may continue. 5 minutes to conclude.
Where engagement with the public, engagement with the media, and the very idea of accountability seem to be a mere afterthought, a farce, a performance more for the cameras than for the citizens of this great nation under your watch. You would recall, and I spoke already, perhaps I shouldn't restate, the cardboard images, the silence by our president and ministers of the former government when the air was thick with silence, with an alarming absence of genuine press conferences, leaving journalists scrambling for scraps of information in an environment where access to the corridors of power was limited, where public officials were too often hidden behind closed doors, where the 𝐁𝐿 government, instead of embracing scrutiny, operated as though it feared the light of public examination. And it is said, with no small degree of irony, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, that the President Granger, in the early years of his presidency, conducted a series of press conferences so rare that they were almost mythical. Today, unlike you, we have hundreds of
Remember, Honorable Minister, you're speaking to me.
Mr. Speaker, unlike those on the opposite side, we have numerous hundreds of engagements by our cabinet and president every day, keeping in touch with people, ensuring that people are connected to us for the purpose of us continuously working for their development. That is our understanding of how a government operates. Under our government, my favorites on the other side, you have seen the true potential of what a government truly committed to is about. Its people looks like, where transparency is not just a buzzword, but a fundamental pillar upon which the administration stands, and where the press is not seen as an adversary to be avoided, but as a partner in the pursuit of truth, of justice, and of progress, a far cry from the days when your cardboard images, the cutout cardboard images of your leaders, stand in for real engagement. In 2025, Mr. Speaker, you will see us continuously working to ensure that the government information services benefit citizens through the provision of information and education to help them to make decisions about their lives and to understand what their government is about and what their government is doing, and to be able to measure us by our actions, and for the purpose including accountability, inclusive of accountability and transparency. Over the past 4 years, we have retooled the state media apparatus and rebuilt the human capacities to ensure robust professional service to our people. And while they rabble-rouse over there about equitable access, the people must be reminded that our state media is a state media that provides and serves the people of Guyana every single day. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, 2025 budget is a bold, visionary blueprint that addresses both the immediate and long-term needs of the people of Guyana. It is a budget that balances the imperatives of economic growth with the principles of equity, sustainability, and social inclusion. Under the leadership and the leadership of our president and the People's Progressive Party Civic government, this budget exemplifies a government committed not merely to the superficialities of development, but to the deep, lasting transformation of our nation, ensuring that all Guyanese can share in the prosperity that we all are building for our future. This, Mr. Speaker, is a budget worthy of all of our commendation. This budget is worthy of our support as it continues a program of development, of transformation, and prosperity for the people of Guyana. And I do so commend Budget 2025 to this House for passage.
Excellent one. Excellent.
Thank you.